Monday morning, thrill seekers, recruiters. Welcome to another excursion into deep recruiting where we're going to explore what it takes to build trust and respect with your candidate. The foundation of all recruiting is really going to be based around trust and respect because if you're not doing what you need to do to earn it, you're going to be struggling all the way through this process, and really you're just an order taker at that point. Now, I want to get in towards the end of this about the 9 basic pillars of building trust and respect. But before we jump into that, let me share kind of a bit of personal experience and how I like to actually build trust. And part of it is about establishing my authority and my experience as a professional recruiter. So when I initially reach out to a candidate by phone, by Teams, I'm setting the stage from the first conversation, from the first few lines that I've got experience. I know what I'm doing. I've got a process. And if we follow that process, we're going to win. To that end, I've got an opening script, an opening bit of dialogue that I use all the time. And that is formed over time, basically massaging it and tweeting it. You need to figure out, I'm not going to give you mine. I want you to figure out what's going to work for you. You have to try different things to establish that trust and respect because everybody's going to be a little bit different. What they need and what they want is going to be a little bit different. And what's going to work for you is going to be different than what works specifically for me. Now, when I'm doing my introduction, basically what I do is I try to figure out why the candidate is even on the phone or in my office. Why are we talking? What's kind of going on in their life, right? I want to show a little empathy towards that, make sure I understand what's going on. Then I'm going to tell them a little bit about me. This is where I'm going to start to establish trust and respect. Then I conduct the full interview. And then at the end, we kind of go back. We cover things that may have been missed. We give them an opportunity to add conversation into it. Now, a lot of times at the beginning of this, I'm going to get some pushback from a candidate. If you've been recruiting for any length of time, you may have heard a line like, well, you're just the recruiter. My response to that is always going to be, you're right. I'm just the guy they're going to pay a confiscatory fee to in order to hire the right professional. I'm just the recruiter. So what I do is I actually agree with their comment, and then I amplify it and I make it utterly ridiculous. This kind of puts them back in the box, and I reestablish control over the process. So from every stage, from the beginning all the way through to the very end, I'm establishing the frame of the conversation. I'm controlling the conversation. I'm setting the pace of the conversation. At every single stage, I'm doing that. How do we do that? Aside from just having a script, a go-to that you open up and you talk about yourself and you talk about your background, you talk about your experience, you talk about your wins. One of the things I'll actually give a candidate are my ratios. How many people interview, 3, to how many people get an offer and place, which is 1. And I let them know what that statistic is to give them a level of comfort. I'm not perfect. I'm not always going to get an offer, but I've got a pretty good ratio and we should succeed if they follow my process. Other pushback I may get where people don't want to follow the process, and I will just flat out tell them it's my way or the highway. You either follow my process, which has been vetted over the last 30 years, or you can find another recruiter where they'll follow your process, and we'll see how that works out. That usually brings everybody in line. Now, I don't say it as harshly as that, but I do give that general idea and that general vibe that I'm in control. It's my process. That's why we're here. Follow it, and we're going to win. Now, the 9 pillars of how you build trust and respect with people you don't know all factor into all of that. So I want to go through those 9 pillars right now. I've got a cheat sheet over on my left, so you're going to see me glance at it, right? But I want you to know what these 9 pillars are so that you can employ them in your script throughout your interview cycle so that you have control over what's going on. The first one is being authentic. You've got to be your authentic self, who you really are. It's one reason why I don't want to give you much of my script, because my script is authentic to me. You have to find the script that's going to be authentic to you. It's going to take some trial and error. It's going to take some foul ups. It's going to take screwing up. But that's how we learn. We get a little bit better. We target it. We keep sharpening our blade and getting better every single time we do it. Number two, this is a whopper. This one is huge. Active listening. Many of us do not engage in active listening. Instead of actually listening to what the person we're talking to is telling us, we're so busy thinking about what we're going to say next and formulating that in our mind. And we can't do that. We've got to be engaged with everything they're saying. We need to be making eye contact with them while they're talking. Eye contact when they're talking, you can look away when you're talking. Okay. How do we make sure we're demonstrating active listening? We allow pauses to happen without jumping in and filling in. We're not constantly interrupting them. We're not thinking about a response. Instead, we're focusing on understanding what they're telling us. We are suspending judgment of what they're saying. It's a big one, suspending the judgment instead of getting all judgy while they make a point that perhaps you don't disagree with. We never offer unsolicited advice. Rather, what we do is we ask clarifying questions so that we can understand better what the candidate is telling us. That's your job, is to listen, understand, and you do that through clarifying questions. Another thing you need to be doing is asking insightful questions based on what they say. Now, instead of just asking insightful questions, you can make a statement that prompts them to clarify. They're talking about a major project they're really proud of. You can say something like, wow, I bet that project really delivered the results your employer was looking for. If it didn't, they're going to bring it up. If it did, or if it exceeded, they're going to bring it up. So instead of asking a clarifying question, you can make a statement about what they said that is going to prompt them to respond. This takes a little bit of practice. Don't rush it. It'll come to you if you'll make an effort. Make a mental note, active listening, ask clarifying questions, make statements that prompt responses. Don't interrupt them. Make sure you're understanding. Punctuality. This is a simple one to do. If you're not on time, you're automatically late. Okay. If you're not early, you're automatically late. So for an interview that's going to be online, on the phone, make sure you're 2, maybe 3 minutes early for that. Set your timer to it. If it's an in-person in the office, again, you want to make sure you're just a few minutes early. Please, please never be 10 to 15 or more minutes early. It puts stress on the other person when you're 10 or more minutes early because they feel like they've got to rush. They weren't quite ready for you. Respectful communication is number 4. This is where you need to use polite language. You need to maintain that eye contact that we talked about before, and you need to display a positive body language. Positive body language. You need to be sitting up, shoulders back, chest out, animated with your arms, your head held high. Okay. Confident. Again, that gets right back to the body language. Shoulders back, chest out, head up, good eye contact. Having good body language shows that you have a healthy self-esteem, that you're confident, that you have a positive outlook on this process. You need to convey that confidence to your candidate in order to have them respect you. Because if you're good doom and gloom about everything, why would they want to work with you? They're not going to be confident. Empathy, trying to understand the situation they're in, being empathetic towards their situation, how they're feeling, and make sure you're responding with kindness and understanding. When you show empathy, it sends a very powerful message that you're just not focused on yourself. You're focused on them, their needs, what's important to them. Okay. Honesty at all times. This, I really shouldn't have to explain this one. If you don't have honesty and integrity, it's going to come out. People are going to notice it, and it's just going to burn your house down every single time. Always be honest with your candidate, with your coworkers, everybody in your life. Being positive. That positivity, ignoring the negative when you're approaching them, when you're talking about the situation, that transference of positivity. When you're positive, they're going to feel more positive about you. And that's what you really want. And the last one really is simply about being consistent. When you say you're going to do something, follow through on that action. Make sure you're consistent. You're always doing what you say so they can rely on your word. And these are the 9 simple ways you can build trust with any candidate. Practice this, rehearse it, it will work. I'm going to run through them again real quick for you. Authenticity, active listening, punctuality, respectful communication, confidence, empathy. Let me scroll this list down here a little bit. Honesty is number 7. Number 8 is positivity. And the last one is consistency. This has been Deep Recruiting. I hope you're getting something out of this every week. We're going to keep doing it every Monday at 11 a.m. We're going to do a live stream. If you miss it, you can always watch it after the fact. Please send us an email at deeprecruiting@teamgtn. Give us a topic you're struggling with, a question you may have that you've always wondered what the answer to is to. We'll feature it on the air. We'll keep it confidential for you. And hopefully we can lift everybody's boat with that rising tide. Everybody have a great week. Let's go make a sale. And thanks a bunch, everybody, for tuning in. Take care.